Radio show. Welcome back, and it's County Commission Day. And even though we've just been chatting city stuff,
right? Yes, sir. I can do either. So whatever you want.
Commissioner John Henry is with us. How are you?
Yes, sir. I'm good. How about you?
You know, we last week I was busy.
All right.
With the
snake. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I've got a lot of questions about the snake. I said, I don't know. All I got was a text that says, I've got to go deal with a snake. And I said, that's my knowledge.
A big old bull snake had gotten in the building somehow.
Yeah.
The best we can think is that it was following mice.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow got up on the there was a little extension to the building.
Right.
Got up on that. And then there's one spot where all the transmission lines go out the back of the building.
Right.
The two FMs, the TVs, all these transmission lines go out the building to go up to the tower. And that's the only thing we can think of is that it must have come in there.
Right.
And so it was doing a good thing. It was eating the mice.
Right.
Which we were real happy about.
Yeah.
But it decided for some reason to crawl up in a transmitter that was on the air.
Yeah.
Got across the 2,000-volt power supply.
That'll cause a problem.
Became an ex-snake.
Yeah. That would do it.
So I was a little bit occupied last week when as soon as I walked in the door, I knew something was dead.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
In addition to the transmitter.
Yeah.
And pulled the back panel off that transmitter and saw that big old bull snake in there. And I said, okay, this is going to take a little while. And I realized at about 6:45, I'm not going to make it back in town in time. And so I started texting everybody and all that kind of fun stuff. So
all the problems you have as a radio person, you know.
That is the second snake I've had to dig out of a transmitter in my career. One was in Mississippi, and then
that would make sense. I bet they have one or two down there.
Oh yeah, tropical areas.
Yeah.
But that was not what I wanted to do last Wednesday.
Right. I would think not. Yeah, it makes for a rough start of the day. So
I had to get my engineer over from Lubbock, and we had to do some work. And
oh my goodness,
we have two transmitters. We have an alternate and a main, so we were able to get the other one going. So we're on the other.
Yeah.
The main transmitter. And then I've got my other engineer who's going to come out here in the next week or two. And we've nicknamed that other transmitter now Snakebite.
It's a good name.
Yeah. So he's going to come out and work on Snakebite and finish cleaning it up and get it back to where it's supposed to be. But,
right. That's a good deal, I guess. At least it'll be cleaned up. I don't know.
Well, I know
the way you want to do it.
I know the guys that check the wells out in the oil field. Snakes and wasps and all kinds of creatures get in some of those huts that they have to check for the meters and stuff like that. So it's not unusual, but it is not fun.
Right. Yeah. Black widows. I always see black widows on those boxes, and those aren't fun. I don't play with those either. So
no, we don't want any of those.
I don't much care for any of it. So
that's right.
I'm all right.
Yeah, but we are intruding, as a nature person would say, we are intruding on their natural territory.
Yeah. Sure.
But we are the dominant species, and
I would think we could live with each other, and they can leave our stuff alone. I mean, we should come to an agreement, but they,
years ago they were worried about the spotted owl up in Cloudcroft. You probably remember.
I
some
remember
of
that because it killed the whole industry.
And then they found that the owls were living in like Kmart signs.
Yeah. And look at Cloudcroft. Dad and I were just talking about that yesterday. Look at our forest now where the owls don't want to live. And we've created a horrible environment for them. So,
I know. It's insane. We have crazy people. So.
We really do, yes. So I will agree with that 100%.
I saw the governor was worried about the influx of immigration in the state.
That's a first.
Yeah.
Well, good for her. At least she said something.
That's right.
It's only been a year, but that's okay. We're not counting. So.
But she said it now.
Yeah.
She's not up for election, is she?
I think she might be. I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure all these things are important for just a minute. So y'all don't be fooled.
I know. It's crazy. Yeah. Well, let's get into your the county commission meeting last night. What did you guys work on yesterday?
Well, we worked on not a ton of stuff. It was a fairly long meeting, as you can see. I mean, there was a lot of things we did, but It was all pretty simple and straightforward. You know, it was another meeting where the budget and actuals were put out, and I always like to tell you that because it's always interesting. So for May GRTs, because we always talk about marijuana at this point too, to try to compare, and I don't have a comparison. I didn't see that number, but yeah, for the county, our regular GRTs came in at $4,627,000, which was quite a bit more than what we've normally seen, which is really good. That means businesses in the city, and both cities and county are doing much better. You're seeing it come back to even some pre-COVID numbers. So we were excited to see that. Oil and gas came in at $6,700,000. So for May, the county, it was about $11 million that came in. Oil and gas, the one thing that she found interesting, Roberta was telling us, that's about 16 million barrels at an average price of $90 a barrel back then. So in May, it was oil would have been April, the numbers. So we haven't even seen this $100, $120 barrels in the numbers yet. So I would expect this next numbers that come out are going to be even substantially higher than that. So, which is, I don't even want to say it's good for the county. I mean, it's not good for anybody, because when you see those high barrel prices, obviously we see the high gas prices, and that's not good for anyone. I think even a lot of folks in the oil gas industry would like to see those barrel prices at a little more normal number, to where when they're putting it out, it's not hurting the consumer near as bad as what we're seeing.
It's high enough where they can make a little money.
Exactly.
But it's not so high that we're paying $5 a gallon for gas and stuff like that.
And I don't want to act like I know what I'm talking about, but a lot of the folks I talk to always say, you know, when you're in those $80 areas, it makes it a lot longer. It makes the oil boom stretches it out a little better than when it jumps to 120, because then other things start happening, and
and then it comes back down.
Yeah. So hopefully we'll see that kind of balance itself out soon. I don't know, judging by what they're doing everywhere else in the federal government.
Now, apparently the president, when he wasn't falling off his bike,
right?
I said that, not
yeah.
Commissioner did not say that.
Yes.
I said that. Has proposed a suspension of the federal gas tax, and is going to encourage governors and other municipalities or whatever that have gas taxes in addition to the federal gas tax to maybe consider doing a tax holiday. I always find it interesting, because he said, if I read the story correctly, he said, we're going to suspend the federal gas tax, but we're not going to cut into the money that goes to the highway funds, which means the money's coming from where?
To go to the highway fund?
Yes. If it's not coming from the gas tax, because we're suspending that, where is the government going to get the money? And so, for example, if they come to New Mexico, now Eddy County doesn't have a gas tax, right? Just the state has a gas tax. So if the governor says, I love the president, I think he's a great guy, matter of fact, next time he comes out, we're going to ride bikes together. That was me saying that, not the county commissioner. If she goes along with the president and suspends the New Mexico gas tax, where is the state of New Mexico? I guess, does the state of New Mexico's pretty good budget situation? I guess they could, if they wanted to.
I think they very easily could do whatever they want to, because oil and gas is sending so much money to the state. I mean, they're in the exact same. I'm sure they're not sitting as well as us in terms of how much is coming to the budget as over what they budgeted, because I'm sure the state budgeted quite a bit more than we did, obviously. I mean, and I'm not talking just big numbers. Obviously, their numbers are bigger, but I don't know where they put their barrel price to come. So depending on where that is, but regardless where that is, obviously they're gonna have more money than they know what to do. Well, I shouldn't say that. They always know what to do with it. They just spend it. I'm not sure they know what they're doing with it, but they're going to have a substantial amount of money. Just there's no way around it. The amount of money that Eddy and Lee County is sending to them is if ours is $6 million, almost $7 million. Can you imagine what the state who keeps the bulk of it? There's no telling how much money they're getting off their royalties and everything else. So yeah, she could easily do it. But remember, she's a governor that I think it was just last year proposed to raise the gas tax. So
that's right.
You know, I don't know. I don't know what she would do. It is an election year, so she's obviously become more Republican than last year, and I keep saying that because she cut taxes. She did all the things that...
Hey, she fixed the brine well.
Yeah, she did fix the brine well, thank goodness. No one else contributed, no one else helped, but she did it great. And, so... I don't know that she would or not. It'll be super interesting if she does. I think you definitely see that it's an election year and maybe something else is going on and she's worried about something, because for a governor that had proposed just to increase it substantially, can you imagine? Was it 30 cents or something? It was
a pretty big number.
Can you imagine what we'd be paying right now if she would have got her way and that would have gone in?
30, 40 cents a gallon.
So we'd be well over $5 at this point. So
that's right. And another thing that's going to be interesting to see, I was watching a video, there's this big push. If you're tired of the high gas prices, go buy an electric car.
Yeah.
And electric cars, I saw a clip last night. Tesla's just raised all of their prices.
Right.
So you're talking $50,000 to $150,000 to buy a Tesla. Mm-hmm. Now there's other, Nissan has one, Chevy has a couple, Ford has a couple now. So I mean, there's other people that are getting in the game now, but we're not talking about a $20,000 tin can to get around town in. We're talking $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to get into it. Georgia has realized that when you don't buy gas, you don't pay the gas tax, which means you don't pay into the highway fund.
Absolutely. Which
means you're driving around on the roads for free. The argument that they're making. Georgia, according to this YouTuber I watched, charges $225 per registration renewal year to an electric car owner.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if New Mexico. Yeah. I mean, how do you weigh those things together? Okay, we're going to raise the gas tax, or we're going to have some kind of gas tax holiday, but we're pushing everybody to buy electric cars.
Right.
But electric cars don't buy gas, so we're not going to get the gas tax to fix the roads. I mean, they're going to have to do the same thing or look at something similar in New Mexico, I would think.
100%. And that's interesting you're talking about that. That's a lot of the things that were said when we set up last time we were allowed to be at the Roundhouse, which was before COVID. The big push was electric cars, and that's still on her agenda. If you look at California, they're pushing a little harder than we are, but our governor follows right behind him on a lot of the things that she's wanting to do, and that was our argument. Okay, you're really pushing for electric cars. There's two problems here. We're a rural state, so for me to drive from here to Albuquerque, I might have to stop somewhere in the middle.
Santa Rosa.
That's
where the charging station is.
So we're going to have to go way out of our way to charge to get enough juice to get to Albuquerque.
Right.
So that then they can take my Tesla when I'm up there and steal it. At least when I get there, the battery will be low. So, no, I shouldn't say that. But we all know that. So we're barely going to make it. We're going to have to charge overnight to just make it home. So it's a rural state that the charging station is going to really have to be understood and worked out before that even can be possible. You're not paying into the road, so our new battery car is going to at some point have to run on dirt, because not only is it the road not getting paid for, but the road is a product of oil and gas. So you have to have oil and gas to make that work, and we don't have the electrical grid. If you look at New Mexico, they're already worried. There's a power station that they were going to take offline that they've gone ahead and left for an extra year, because New Mexico doesn't have the kind of power we need to support what we have currently. More or less put another, I forget what the number is it 7%, or there's another huge chunk that she wants of our cars to be electric cars.
Yeah.
And California's going to be in the same boat. I mean, why do you think we see rolling blackouts and brownouts out there? It's because their grid cannot handle.
Yeah.
So now you have a choice. Do you want to go sit in your electric car and hope it's powered to run your AC, or run your AC in your house? Because it's going to be very difficult to have both.
That's
with
right.
our current grid system. And people need to realize that. I mean, it sounds fun. It sounds neat.
It maybe works in Santa Fe.
And I think
might even work in Albuquerque.
100%.
But it doesn't work in the rural parts of the state.
You know what? And if you have an electric car and you want to run around your town, I think that is a good use of it.
It
That's
works fine.
fantastic use. But if you want to drive, we just saw that report of the reporter that was driving across, and he said he spent more time charging than he did sleeping. Right? Was that, am I getting that right order?
Yeah. And of course, I've watched a couple of the debunking videos. It's, you know, was this a hit piece or are they that stupid?
Yeah. yeah.
On the pro side, on the pro electrification. But the bottom line to me is the distance is not there yet.
Right.
Then you start towing if you go ahead and go into the truck or the sport utility and you start towing. Well, and it's just like a gas engine. I mean, it cuts your range down to nothing. I was watching a video. Guy has a electric car and he lives in the cold climate. Yeah. And so there's heaters that run to keep the battery pack at the proper temperature. Well, that shortens the range when the weather gets cold. And I bet in our climate, conversely, the battery pack is cooled, and so it cuts down your range when you're at, you know, when it's 100 degrees outside. So there's a lot of things that have to be addressed if we're going to go that way. But I don't think we're thinking about that as we push to that. And so now we have this crisis with the price of gas and all the things that are going on with it. And the solution is to drain the National Reserve, which was filled up at a much lower price. Yeah. So that when we have to refill it.
Yeah. Now we're refilling it at 120.
At a much higher price. Yeah. And then go to Saudi Arabia and ask them to drill more. I read an article this week. The administration likes to call it Putin's price hike. Well, you know, Putin isn't sitting on oil.
Right.
He sold the oil. Yeah. Because he needs to sell it to fund the war in Ukraine. Yeah. You know who's buying his oil?
I don't know that. I hope it's not us, but
no, it's not us, because we're not. And Europe is in a panic right now, and they're having to restart natural gas power plants and stuff like that.
China.
Okay,
that'd be a good guess.
China's like, okay, we'll buy your oil. Yeah, they got lots of money. They're building, islands and military and build up and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And so China's buying Putin's oil, so Putin's still selling his oil.
Yeah.
And China's found us, why don't we sell oil to China? Why don't we sell oil to Europe and natural gas and stuff like that? Anyway,
we just saw a report. The Permian Basin is the third biggest oil producer in the world. I mean, if you look at the Permian, it doesn't feel huge when you're looking at it on a map, and it's the third biggest producer in the world. I mean, imagine the impact the men and women of Eddy and this part of New Mexico and that part of Texas could have on the world if we were allowed to do what they know what to do. Yeah. And if you remember, I had heard an environmental study. It is the cleanest oil produced in the world. Yeah. So, I totally understand folks that are worried about the climate. We're all worried about the climate. I don't think that's not an argument you win on either side. It's just we approach it differently. That, hey, here's one of the cleanest products that we can produce in the world, and y'all are trying to shut it down, and you have nothing to replace it with. You keep saying solar and wind, and my goodness, I've challenged so many people, and I would challenge everyone on the radio, go look and see what it takes to produce those batteries in those cars. Look at the holes we have to dig and the mining that has to take place to get the parts. And then look, what do we do? Those cars are full of batteries. When they die, where do they go? Somebody should research that. It's not a clean product. Everything has its issues, and I think we need to start really comparing these apples to apples instead of, it's clean because it's wind. Those turbines, I drove by, I passed a lot. I went to Dallas this last weekend, and I passed a lot of those. And I'm sorry, if you're a wind turbine owner or lover, I'm sorry to say, I think they're horribly ugly because you're driving across this beautiful country, which I think is pretty when it's flat and I can see far. I know I'm weird. But all I see are wind turbines now forever. And so it's not a clean product. Half of them had oil leaking down the side, which I always think is ironic. And
well, you have to have the oil for the roads that we drive on. I'm not aware of an electric asphalt.
Right.
You've got to have oil to make the rubber components that are in the cars. And electric cars, because of the heaviness of the battery packs and the tires that are designed for minimal resistance, the tires don't have the life. I mean, a regular vehicle, you can get 40, 50, 60,000. Well, not 60, but you can get, 30, 40, 50,000 on a set of tires, you're looking at 20 to 25. So you're changing out tires more often than you would on a conventional vehicle. So there's pros and cons to all of it.
Absolutely.
But we're not looking at the cons on the electric side. We're only looking at the pros. And we have to do this, and we have to do it now. And we're looking at the cons on the ICE internal combustion engine side, and we're not looking at the pros on that. And it's a mess. I need to take a break.
Absolutely.
We got more County Commission news to cover with County Commissioner John Henry. So